According to Governor John Hickenlooper's proposed budget, he plans to direct $12.3 million in annual marijuana tax revenue toward addressing Colorado's issue of chronic homelessness. The money would fund the construction of new homes for both perpetual and circumstantial homeless individuals. Additionally, a total of $6 million would be applied to housing for people with low income or mental health needs. Patty, this seemed like an interesting use of pot tax revenue here. I didn't know we had that much freedom with it, but I guess if the governor's going to put it in his budget, we do. What do you think?
Well, we do, and it's interesting because people were talking about what would happen when John Hickenlooper went to Washington, and then they're talking about if he's not going to Washington, what will he do? And what's interesting about this is we're seeing one of his very early emphasis when he was mayor, Denver's Road Home, he's now taking to the Capitol, and he's trying to finish up a project he started. There's no question the chronically homeless issue is the toughest one. That's not necessarily everyone you pass as you're coming here to the studio. It's the people who are the toughest to get to find help, the people who have mental challenges, they have physical challenges. And getting them into housing has been shown over and over to save money ultimately and to really help on the streets. The homelessness problem in Colorado is huge, and this is a good start, and why not use the pot money? I mean, people have blamed pot for the increase in homelessness. If there's any, it's minuscule, I think. People were flocking to Colorado even before pot was legal.
David, the breakdown we've seen so far breaks into a couple different areas, but if you're going to spend state funding on homelessness, is this broken out the right way?
Well, I think that Natasha Gardner on last week from 5280 magazine provided some important perspective that homelessness is not one category. So circumstantial homelessness, she mentioned, for example, a 35-year-old single mom and who's had a string of bad luck and maybe some bad choices too, but give her a home to live in for 3 months to get back on her feet, then she could go back and become self-supporting and help take care of her kids. So that can be a constructive thing. The mental health thing of Independence Institute, we've long been saying is seriously underfunded and is one of the most important things we need to reprioritize. So that's good as well. But it's also true that I think when Governor Hickenlooper said he's doubling down on what he did before, well, what he did before, he was going to, over a decade ago, he was going to end homelessness in Colorado, in Denver, and that didn't work at all. It's not just something that the government can solve. Part of it is people's own choices, and all the government spending in the world is not going to convince some people to change the lifestyle choices they've made to be a wino, to be a drug addict, and choose to live on the streets.
John, is substance abuse treatment getting a short shrift here?
Well, I'm not sure, but there is that element in the homeless situation. There's also the mental, as Patty indicated. But by law, I think they're going to have to go and change the Constitution. They're going to have to change the amendments, because the amendment says the money is supposed to go to education. So I'm not sure if they can. I know everybody is, and the legislature is clamoring for this money, but I'm not sure they can do that without it being legislated. I think Hickenlooper would do better to go to other states and other mayors and talk to the governors in those states and find out why, as the rumor goes, so many people get bus tickets to Denver. As Patty said, this is not just recent that this has all come about, and it's not necessarily for pot. We've talked to plenty of homeless on the streets, and what they tell us is that it's the medical card that they get when they come here. They can get their teeth fixed, they can get all the ailments that they have fixed. It's that rather than the drugs of any kind. And so maybe stopping the free tickets to Denver is a first step, and then figure out whether this homeless bureaucracy that would be built up. I mean, we have the Denver Housing Authority and they can't house these people, so how is the state going to be able to do it?
Nick, do you think Governor Hickenlooper is going to run into a lot of opposition on Capitol Hill on this one?
Well, I think that if this is going to be state money, we need a statewide solution. And more, I think the bigger question is the right money going to the right problems? Is the money going across the state, or is it all going to be concentrated in Denver? There's homelessness in Pueblo, there's homelessness in Colorado Springs, and there's homelessness on the Western Slope and on the Eastern Plains. And so I think you're going to see a lot of Republican rural lawmakers, especially in the Senate, question, is this going to be a fair shake for the entire state, or is this just going to take care of a Denver problem?